Hey, everybody, welcome back to the Around the Leagues podcast. We're back today. Recorded yesterday, got some stuff out about college basketball. And obviously, since we recorded yesterday, everything's kind of over. There's no conference tournaments really. Big East played a half of a game today. Um,
St.
Baseball,
John's, baby.
St. John's national champions. They were up at the half of
Yeah.
what appears to be the final game of the college season up to now. So
Correct.
baseball just announced that they're gonna suspend the start of the regular season by 2 weeks, and spring training is basically on pause for now as well. They're still
Yeah.
I've got a game on now. They're still playing it through, but they're not. It's obviously not that. It's not to the full effect of
Correct.
other games. It's not definitely not the same contact level or anything like that, which could be argued doesn't really matter because they're already in the arena.
Correct.
But yeah, so talked yesterday and things. I mean, as soon as we logged off yesterday, probably within the
Things
hour,
changed. Yeah.
NCAA was making announcements and everything kind of hit the fan real quick.
Yeah.
So, what are your thoughts?
So, well, I said yesterday at the end of the show, life is too short to bet the under. And boy, well, that was wrong. uh, I think I don't know, it's really weird because everything, like you said, as soon as we went off the air yesterday, everything changed. And so let's give a brief timeline here. The NCAA announced first that the tournament was going to be played without fans. And that was going to be throughout the NCAA tournament, up including the championship game. They had talked about potentially moving it out of Mercedes-Benz, maybe to like a local high school, which I thought could have been cool.
Yeah.
Shortly after, later in the evening, the Jazz Thunder game goes on. The team doctor storms the court shortly before tip-off, says a player
Like
has
3 minutes before tip
yeah,
off.
I mean, they have announced starting lineups. They are doing final warm-ups. We are getting ready to go live in Oklahoma City. Doctor storms the court. They decide to get everybody off the court. And then we find out shortly after that a Jazz player named Rudy Gobert tests positive for coronavirus. And then within 10, maybe 10 minutes, the NBA says the season is suspended.
Yeah, which I think
Jazz,
that's just protocol at that point, right? You have to
correct.
when
And I
there's
mean, Jazz Pelicans, they were scheduled to go later in the night. They postponed their game. And then earlier this morning, I sent a tweet out maybe about 3 a.m. this morning. I worked overnight last night. We said we were going to discuss the implications of the MLB season, the NCAA tournament, fighting events such as UFC 249 coming up, and the NHL playoffs. Well, we shortly found out the NHL season is on pause as well until further notice. The MLB season has been not suspended, but it's going to be delayed, most likely affecting the start of the regular season. No word on UFC yet. There's talk that their event this weekend down in Brazil is going to be held without fans. Of course, there's no title fights on that card. UFC 249 next month with Khabib Nurmagomedov and Tony Ferguson. Very highly anticipated fight. That is probably going to be a big money maker for the UFC. I don't see any scenario where that doesn't at least get postponed at this time. If you have the
yeah.
NBA and the NHL delaying their playoffs for the coronavirus, I don't see how the UFC can follow suit. Word out later today with Vince McMahon potentially canceling WrestleMania. Of course, he owns the XFL as well. No word on the XFL yet. We know the
The
Seattle game.
XFL is announcing that I believe they release a statement here in about 20 minutes. So we're recording live, obviously.
Sure.
They will be. They are supposed to announce at 4 o'clock Eastern. So
Okay. And we knew going into yesterday even that they were playing the Seattle Dragons game this weekend without fans in attendance. We'll see here, I guess, in about 20 minutes whether that game gets played at all. And so, I mean, there are major ramifications from all of this. I mean, the first thing we can talk about, one, is there going to be champions in both the NHL and NBA this season? I mean, at this point, it's up in the air.
yeah, and it's crazy because everything just happened so fast, right? We were kind of
Yeah.
somewhat lightheartedly joking about it yesterday, and
Yeah.
I'll be honest, I was up there. I was saying, I mean, I still agree that I think it's kind of overblown a little bit to a degree, but we got done yesterday at I can't remember what time it was, but I mean,
About
within
12:30 Eastern.
okay, so yeah, that's right. So by 1:30 ish, I've got. I mean, I checked Twitter and everything's in a shitstorm,
Yep.
and then it just gets more and more throughout the day. We've got, I mean, talks at conference tournaments was okay. They're not going to play with fans. I think the Big Ten announced it right before tip off. So I think it was about 5 o'clock, right before tip off of the Minnesota versus Northwestern game. They announced that they're not going to allow fans into the arena the next day, which would have been today. The two Big Ten games last night go on as planned. I think Minnesota beats Northwestern, Indiana beats Nebraska. During that game, even Nebraska's head coach, I don't know if you saw it, Fred Hoiberg,
Hmm.
he looked sick on the bench. He had his head down, was kind of looking not in the best shape, and then with like a few minutes left in the game wasn't even over yet. He leaves the bench and goes to the Nebraska locker room, gets rushed to the hospital, ends up getting tested. He was tested positive for influenza A, but not for coronavirus. So
Yep.
yes, it's a bit on the bright side there, but it's still kind of one of those things. It's like he wasn't feeling great coming into the day, and I believe they said he was tested earlier in the day because he wasn't feeling well, but he
Sure.
still knew he was sick, and he still went out there and he wanted to coach, and it's just
Yeah, I mean it's kind of crazy because I mean with the NCAA, so with them already not allowing fans to be in attendance, that's probably a 9-figure loss for the NCAA. I mean that's fair to say, right? I mean
yeah.
it might be. I mean, go ahead.
No, I'm just agreeing with you.
Yeah, so I mean a 9-figure loss for the NCAA. The NBA, let's say their operations are canceled for the rest of the year. They don't award a champion. That might be a 10-figure loss, as a matter of fact. By the time you add up all the sales of playoff tickets, the TV revenue they would have generated, I mean, that there is a lot of money being moved around, potentially lost from all these sports leagues in this very fluid situation.
Yeah,
I tell you, I was not expecting this even 48 hours ago. And now it really makes you wonder, how serious is this coronavirus issue? How long is this going to last for? Are we going to have champions in the NCAA, NHL, and NBA? Is the MLB going to delay their season for a couple
yeah.
months? I
I
mean,
mean,
there's
it's
just so
everything
much
is
in the
just in
air.
limbo. It's crazy,
Yeah.
and I like.
And
Oh, go ahead.
well, I was going to say, even the NFL, they announced earlier today that the start of their year was not going to be delayed by the coronavirus. But there's talks out there that the NFL draft might be affected because of this,
Right.
because of scouting and obviously that's a large crowd
Right. And
event.
and teams today had excuse me, they started polling scouts. So scouts typically this time of year they're traveling, they've got pro days and stuff that they're tuning into. So you've got usually 3 or 4 guys from a team or at a school, and then they've pulled all of these. They've put basically travel restrictions on team personnel, so they will not be actually at pro days, and that
Yeah,
not only hurts the teams, but it hurts the players because they don't have that final chance to kind of work out in front of potential
yeah.
employers.
I mean, it's just this is kind of a real bad situation. I mean, you got to think of not. I mean, obviously the owners, they're the ones that are probably losing 10, 20 million each out of this. But with the players, like you mentioned, for the NFL and maybe even potentially the NBA draft, who says a kid doesn't go into the NCAA tournament, have a great run, similar to like Kimball Walker 8-9 years ago for
Yeah,
UConn, where
or
he kind of
even
killed.
Carson Edwards last year
Yeah,
out of Purdue.
and
He
yeah,
dominated, and it helped him a
yeah.
little bit in the draft, and now he's not
I
going to.
mean,
I mean, change it
yeah, and
up.
I mean, you could name many players from Gordon Hayward at Butler to Carson Edwards at Purdue. Even like people that were top 5 picks that solidified themselves as number 1 picks, like Anthony Davis. I mean, they all went through the NCAA tournament. They put up great performances, and that's how they solidified themselves as the top picks in the
Yeah.
draft. I don't know, man. This is kind of wild. This is kind of the first time in my lifetime where something has wholesale shut the world down, essentially.
Oh yeah, I
You
mean
know?
it's unprecedented, really. It's
No, no.
wild.
And yesterday we had talked about with multiple universities closing their doors between IU, Purdue, IUPUI today. Earlier yesterday evening, it was announced U of E was extending their spring break online classes moving forward. USI announced earlier this afternoon, Central Time, that they were also extending spring break through next week.
Ball State
and they were
did as well.
Correct. Our alma mater decided that they were going to go against the grain. Nope. It takes a school shooter and the National Guard to get an afternoon off around there.
And I get it. I agree with them with I think the panic is overblown. But when you see so many other institutions kind of taking that step and they're pointing on saying, no, we're going to keep things going as normal, that causes, I believe that will cause trust issues and kind of relationship issues between faculty and student body.
Oh, 100%. And it really makes you wonder if these sports leagues are willing to take 9-figure losses. Is there something they know that we don't,
Yeah.
People aren't going to lose $500 million, $500 million with a B. People aren't going to lose $500 million over some runny noses. You know what I mean? These sports leagues, the one thing they care about is money. That's what they go into all these TV contract negotiations. That's why they set ticket prices the way that they do. At the end of the day, it's a business. And if they're willing to lose all of this money, it makes you wonder just exactly what we have in our hands here.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy because how quickly the professional leagues kind of moved forward with everything.
Yeah.
And the NCAA, as of right now, from what we know, is they have not made any decision about the NCAA tournament outside of the fans not being in attendance. But there's still the idea that they're going to play it or at least postpone it a little bit. And a lot of that probably has to do with money. And it's the bullshit part of that is the people who are out there playing every day
aren't getting paid.
Are the ones not getting paid. And I think it was Jay Billis had said today, and I apologize, my dog just started going crazy. But Jay Billis had said, if you're seeing professionals out here and they're taking their time and they're going to just sit out and let this kind of pass by or take precaution, and then you've got the amateur league and the NCAA not taking those same steps, it makes you kind of think of what is going through the minds of the NCAA, and that it's just 100%. A shame. But I don't know. It's still a confusing time. We still don't even know really anything because there's only so much we can know. But what we do know is Rudy Gobert, which was the Jazz player who was tested positive. Fuck that guy. That's all I can say. I mean, I feel bad. He's sick, and it's not a thing to joke about. But he was making a mockery of the whole situation the day. I don't know if you saw the video yet, but
I did.
He was touching all the microphones and the recorders and whatever. Kind of having fun, which I get it. I'm not going to say I would. I mean, I probably wouldn't do it, but I can see why he would do it. It's it's one of those funny little jokes. But then he gets sick. Him getting sick then kind of creates more panic in the professional sports world. NBA goes on close. Then we find out today that Donovan Mitchell, who is the star of the Utah Jazz, one of the brightest young players in the league, also tested positive.
Well, and the Utah Jazz have two All-Stars, Rudy Gobert and Donovan Mitchell. Those are the two that end up testing positive.
And Gobert was just selfish about it. He was making a joke. And I saw, I think it was Woj had tweeted today that he was kind of careless in the locker room. He was touching everybody's stuff, everybody's bags. There was a video of him touching Donovan Mitchell's face after a game recently. And it's just, it was of poor taste. And if somebody, I can't remember who it was, but they showed like a diagram of basically, because it's a 2-week quarantine type thing of once you get it, that's how long it takes for it to hit your system. If you go back 14 days, the Jazz had 5 games over that time that Rudy Gobert played before he missed a game before he was listed to miss a game with illness. They played 5 games, and through 2 of those games alone, they would have contacted every other team in the league because who they played it trickled down. They would play somebody, then they would play somebody, and in the matter of 5 days, the entire league is not necessarily sick, but is at least exposed to it.
And that not only goes to the players, but think of the officials.
And there was an official last night who tested positive. I think she was set to do the Pelicans-Kings game, and that's why their game ended up being postponed. So
and It's weird because, you have all these reporters that go to each of these games, and now, they got to be tested because, they're in contact with these players, in close contact in either the locker rooms or post-game conferences. You have the officials that are essentially on these players, especially when they have to break up scrums. Anytime a player goes into the fans after maybe receiving a hard foul or something, you have all those fans in close proximity, the
Yep.
photographers on the sideline. And then, the reason why maybe the NHL closed its doors for, the next foreseeable future, many of these teams share locker rooms with NBA teams.
Yeah.
Like, for instance, the Toronto Raptors and the Toronto Maple Leafs, go Leafs, by the way, they share Scotiabank. They share the facility. They share locker rooms. You can go through other teams. The Knicks and the Rangers, for instance, they share Madison Square Garden.
Do the Sixers and Flyers share?
They show Wells Fargo.
Yeah.
They share Wells Fargo. And I want to say Atlanta. Actually, no, Atlanta. No, Atlanta doesn't have a NHL team. The Thrashers moved out of town. But Portland. They also don't have one. I was thinking Blazers and somebody. But the Staples Center between the Kings, the Lakers, and the Clippers. It really makes you wonder. I mean, there's a lot of things that could come out of this. It's an unfortunate situation all the way around. There's a lot of money on the line for many of these organizations. For the NBA, when was the last time they didn't award a Larry O'Brien trophy?
I have no idea. I couldn't tell you.
It's probably been 60 or 70 years, right?
Probably,
For the NHL, there's been, the Stanley Cup's been in, for 140 years or whatever. Only 2 years have they never awarded a cup. 1919 because of the Spanish flu and 2005 because of the lockout. These are unprecedented times. I mean, there is, I don't know if we've never really seen this before. I don't know if we'll ever see this again. I mean, This is absolutely crazy.
Yeah, and something we had touched on just a little bit ago before we recorded. So if you look at the NBA, right, they're at the tail end of their season. They still have about a month left of the regular season. I think you got some rain going on over there.
I do. Yeah. Can you hear it?
Yeah,
not
bad. Not too bad. You're good. But the NBA, their season expected to end here. I think it's mid-April is when the regular season ends, and they have the playoffs. Mark Cuban said that he expects the season to wrap up at some point, but he said that could be in August. If you push the end of the NBA season to August, what happens to free agency, to the draft, to the start of the next season? I mean, it's a snowball effect. Same thing with the NFL. If anything happens there, Major League Baseball push it back. I mean, you'd have to shorten the season or something.
And with the MLB, it's a little less. I don't know. It's a little less drastic because they can short their 162 game season down to 120, and I think many people would be fine with it.
And it can even work as a trial run for if they want to change that in the future, because there's already been talks of shorting it.
Yeah, 100%. And with the NHL, their season, say they move their season back 8 weeks, that puts their Stanley Cup Finals at the beginning of August. Their season starts up at the end of October. I mean, it's 100% crazy. If the NCAA doesn't award a champion this year, I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
I saw you made a tweet this morning at Luke Parrish _NFL for those of you who don't follow him, that they should make 128 team bracket next year. I'm for it.
Just take everybody this year and then fill it out next year, because I mean, obviously it's not going to be a whole 64 different slated teams, but you got to add. But I mean, I think the idea, because in the NCAA, it's typically whoever's number one at the end of the season. If there's no tournament, then they're awarded. So as of right now, if they do cancel it, I believe Kansas is awarded the banner,
and that makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, it's not like they haven't earned it, but it sucks so bad from a personal standpoint just because of how good this year has been in college basketball. They're taking it away from us.
Correct. And earlier today, the ACC tournament, we talked about this yesterday, how we were surprised that Florida State was the 1 seed when you have Duke, Louisville, Virginia, other good teams in that conference. They awarded Florida State the ACC title earlier
Yeah,
today.
they held the trophy and everything. They just went out
They
there. They
did.
did it before
They
before they
did,
were
and so
supposed to start. And I mean,
our predictions from yesterday, well, they're mostly going to be shot in the water now. But and if they award Kansas the national title in some back room of some hotel in a conference room, I mean, it is what it is. It's a little disappointing because you want to see that decided on the court, especially in March Madness. It's really the only month where people care about college basketball.
yeah.
I don't know. It's like I said, it's unprecedented. It's unfortunate. And, who knows how long it'll be until we get back to regular sports.
Yeah, and obviously there's more to the world than sports, but I mean we're here for the sports, so I'm not going to sit here and talk about politics or whatever around it. But it does. I mean, for me personally, it really sucks because everything I do, as you know, is sports based. I mean, everything I watch, everything I do, anything I've ever worked in my life has been sports. So I mean, if the NFL season gets pushed back or something and it's going to affect my job or it's going to affect somebody who I know, it's going to affect their job and it's going to hurt somebody drastically. And I saw a thing yesterday, a guy had just quit his job a couple weeks ago to shift his focus from football to basketball. But he covered an NBA team, and just like that, he lost his job basically because there's nothing he can do. And it's one of those things where on the grand scheme of things, it's probably not that big of a deal. And we're going to probably look back on this and kind of surprised of how big of an event this whole thing was. But I understand kind of the precautions we've all taken. It'll just be weird. I don't know what I'm going to do with my time. On the bright side, MLB The Show comes out early release. I'm glad I pre-ordered it. It'll be out tonight at midnight, so I'll probably just stay up and play that a little bit. But I mean, it's weird because I believe the Champions League got pushed back too. I think they canceled the rest of the season. So I mean, there's just nothing on.
Yeah, and I think this is all a ruse for two things. They're either trying to keep the Astros from getting their just desserts.
That's my idea, is that it's the Astros they all set this up. That way they did not have to get booed in front of everybody.
Yeah, I mean, they knew they were taking fastballs to the ribs, and they're just delaying the inevitable.
Yep.
And it's been over 19,000 days since the Leafs lifted a cup. It was their year. They're trying to keep them down. And also, I was talking to a guy about this yesterday. The Knicks, they technically didn't lose the title this year. I'm just saying.
Did you see where I think it was them, the Pacers and the Rockets, voted that they should keep the NBA season going?
Oh, really? Because
I think they had like an owners meeting, and they asked all 30 owners to basically vote on, should the season be suspended, should it be held without fans, or should it be played as normal? And pretty much everybody said either suspended or with no fans. And then the Knicks were the first one to come out, and they said they're just like, let's just play it status quo until a government official tells us to stop.
Because James Dolan's trash.
Yep. And everybody's bashing the Knicks. And then I wake up, first thing I see this morning is that the Pacers were another team who wanted to keep things going. And it was just a weird day. Yesterday was probably the most confusing day I've ever had. Like, I couldn't sleep because I was just so I was stuck on my phone. I'm watching the IU game, scrolling through my phone. Didn't see the second half of it.
Yeah.
And it was wild. And I guess I'll check Twitter real quick here live for you guys and see if anything has happened with the XFL.
And we sit here and we talk a lot. We talked a lot about certain sports in our short time here on Around the Leagues, right? We talked a lot about the NFL. We talked about several different fighting events. We talked about the NBA, a lot of baseball. We talked hockey here and there, and we've been grateful to do so. But here in the upcoming weeks, it might be rough. It might be slim pickings for your boys here at Around the Leagues. I mean, tennis. I mean, I guess we can find some backyard tennis. Something to talk about, but it'll be quite interesting. We've been privileged enough to be able to talk about what we want to talk about on here, and now all of our favorite sports are being affected by it.
Yeah, it's just like I guess technically it's a good thing I'll be busy this weekend because now I won't be bored watching nothing. But at the same time, I'm out in the public, so
I guess NASCAR, they're running these events without fans, so I guess their ratings are about to go through the roof.
Yeah. It's just I don't even know what to think at this point. It's so weird, and I mean, obviously we hope everybody's going to be okay, and
100%.
We hope it gets kind of blown over, but the way things are moving, it's just hard to believe that's the case, and it's so weird. I don't know.
And like you said, first and foremost, we wish the health and safety for not only all of our listeners, but for everyone out there, because at the end of the day, this is real life. Sports, it's fun to talk about. It's fun to kind of lose ourselves in. We kind of get away from reality from either talking about or ingesting sports. But at the end of the day, it really doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things. What matters is the health of your friends, your family, your loved ones. And it's we don't know how long this will last, and we don't know how many lives will be affected because of all this. And moving forward, while we do want to talk about sports, we want to make sure everybody out there is safe first and foremost.
Absolutely. So, I told you yesterday we're gonna have to start prepping for doing 2 a week, and here we are doing the second. But I guess next week. We'll try to record next week. Hopefully there's something we can talk about. Obviously we'll keep that in limbo and we'll let everybody know.
And if there's nothing to go on, I'm sure we can muster up a couple stories to, maybe keep you guys entertained or whatever,
I'm cool with that. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just, man, I don't even know.
Sure.
It just feels like the end of the world, but it's not like because I'm at the point yesterday I was saying, oh, it's not that serious. I think it's kind of whatever. And I'm still that way. I just keep going back and forth. Like last time, I was like, man, maybe this shit really is bad. I'm like,
it's funny what 24 hours does. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I'm just like, I'm really I'm torn on what to think. And, it's tough because I really don't know if I want to, go out this weekend, but I think I'm going to because just a good guy, But I don't know. It's just, I'm literally just lost for words. It's like thinking because my whole world is just gone now. Now I have to just sit and do nothing. I don't have homework I can do. I don't have a lot of work stuff to do. So it's just sit here and watch Jerry Springer.
That brings back memories.
Yeah, dude.
Oh, wow.
Jerry Springer's where it's at. He's got my vote.
Yeah. So, this is wild. Hopefully things get back to normal here quite soon. If not, I guess we got to ride it out. But
we'll have to figure out something for the listeners this week. But
I never really would have thought all these events would have played out the way that it has. And who says the dominoes have stopped falling? You know what I mean? There's nothing that says that yet.
Yeah, all we know is just the scope of the sports world. We don't even know.
Sure, in terms of the real life implications. Yeah. And it's unfortunate. Hopefully this doesn't turn into a year-long thing, but I guess you got to start preparing for it. I guess I got 2 week spring break. Wabash took away a winter break from me, and Southern Indiana, they give me
right there.
they took away a winter break. Southern Indiana gives me an extra week on spring break. I'm just saying, Wabash, step your game up. I'm just kidding. I don't know. It's unfortunate, but it is what it is, and we'll be here to give our opinions on it. So
yep. So we'll be back hopefully on Monday, and hopefully there's something to talk about. If not, we'll wing it and figure something out. But until then, if you guys have questions or whatever, feel free again to reach out. You can follow us on Twitter. Keanan's at Keanan Allstott. Pretty simple. Mine is at Luke Parrish _NFL. I'm on there all day, so if you ever message me, I'll see it.
That's true. That's true.
And then I'll link it in the description again. Our tournament bracket's still up if you guys want to join it. probably don't need to, but it's there if you want it. So,
Sure.
yeah, I mean, I guess we'll just see where this takes us.
Yeah. So, guys, if this is the last time for a little bit, it's been fun, but we'll be back. We just might not be talking sports for a little bit.
Yeah,
So,
we'll see. We'll make sure to make it worth your time still. So.
Yeah, for sure. So everybody be safe out there. Hug your loved ones maybe a little extra tight. And enjoy maybe the little bit of time off if that applies to you. So we'll see you guys back here next week. And until then, life. Actually, I won't say that.
Life is perfectly linked for
that's
betting
true.
the money line. All right,
100%.
Thanks for tuning in. We will keep you updated, and we'll get back with you sometime next week. So,
all right, see you guys.
peace out.